happy to have my guest today. So we have Kristine Vowles. Kristine, you are from Arizona.
Yes, I am.
Welcome. And we have Ryan Marsh, and Ryan is from the Portland, Oregon area. Welcome, Ryan.
Thank you, Shell.
So this is, I don't know what week this is. I think this is week 6. Alicia can correct me in the chat box if I'm incorrect, of doing these staging industry insights. So we're talking everything COVID-19, the temperature of the industry, what's going on in your local area, how's it affecting you personally, how's it affecting stagers in your area, and then we also want to open it up for any direct questions that we can help answer. When I say questions, it's kind of anything goes. So if you needed a coaching question around a situation that you're encountering right now because of COVID, or you just want to know how to deal with something, Felicia says I'm correct, week 6. Sometimes the memory works. Most times it does not. So I appreciate everybody being here. So let's just go ahead and get started. So Kristine, with you, Arizona, what's the local temperature like? Are you still under orders? What's your status in your state?
Orders have been released. We're now open. They have now opened as of this last week, restaurants, gyms, spas, hotels. So basically we're at full go other than distancing. So all restaurants, every place is 50% capacity. But what I'm noticing that not even a third of the businesses have reopened. So it's still a ghost town out there. You can drive for 45 minutes to try and find a place to eat when you're out working with clients all day long, trying to find a place to actually sit down and eat. That's not happening. So in some of our stores that I normally go to for design and some of my cool places I go to pick up unique accessories, they have cleared out their store during COVID. And so it doesn't look like they're even coming back. So that was kind of like, ooh, okay. That hurt.
Yeah. So are masks recommended in your area or mandatory?
Recommended.
Recommended. Okay. And Ryan, what's it like out there in Oregon?
You know what? So we service the entire West Coast, but Oregon, well, actually, I will say that every state, every particular area that we service has different guidelines. We're just about to move into phase 1 in Portland. Most of the counties in Oregon are already in phase 1, which allows for a lot of the retail businesses, the gyms, the spas, the salons to open in some capacity, of course, with restrictions for social distancing and whatnot. But we've managed to follow the CDC guidelines in order to operate in some capacity. Through this, just servicing specifically removals of staging. Of course, it's always a big debacle. It was a huge discussion when this initially started. Then also some work for our key clients given different circumstances. So, in just keeping our thumb on it, we're doing our best and working as hard as we can to keep our team as safe as possible, and then also just following any guidelines associated with, from the CDC.
Right. And so let's just say in Oregon, are masks recommended or suggested?
It's recommended. One thing that we have done is, of course, requirements that our clients could not be present at the property when we're staging, when we're at consultations, just to limit that exposure. Even though they're recommended, we still have all the PPE necessary. If our team members want to wear them, we encourage it, of course. But we're running a skeleton team and we're really sticking to the social distancing.
Yeah. Very good. So I just posted a poll and I'm curious to know if everybody can see that. Go ahead and answer that poll. And I've asked, are you wearing masks when you're out and about? Yes or no? So let's let that run for a little bit because I know it's hit and miss. I live in North Carolina and I'm actually 4 miles from the South Carolina border, the upstate. And so I'm in South Carolina, once a week when I'm allowed to leave my home. So go forage for food. So that's usually where I do the grocery shopping, is I kind of just drive over the border. But it is rather interesting because even when we had a little stricter order in our area, it was like, are we under orders here? Just you walk outside and literally like no masks, no anything. If you went to the Lowe's, people are sandwiching with each other and but the grocery stores finally did get people going in certain directions and things like that. So even now, I think it's kind of hit and miss. You go through little pockets of places and you see a lot of people wearing the masks and a lot of people not. So right now we've got some people taking the poll. 95% of the people that answered thus far are wearing masks. So that's pretty interesting. And I'll let that continue to run. I know for me, we could not find masks for the longest time.
Right.
And I could not even get them online. Amazon, no matter what, I was checking daily. I mean, first of all, the toilet paper shortage, ridiculous where I live. I'm horribly confused. Chicken, no rice. There's been rice in their grocery store for 2 weeks now. So it's just kind of interesting how everything got depleted.
Mm-hmm.
So what's it like in your area, Kristine, with as far as like just general out and abouts?
It was pretty much a ghost town. You couldn't get anything. All the normal supplies were completely cleaned out long before they even shut the state down. So I don't know if they were following California or where they were following, but when it started looking like, okay, Arizona might start looking at this a little bit more serious, just to go out and get toilet paper, I traveled 200 miles one day from Queen Creek all the way to Phoenix and back, 200 miles just to look for toilet paper and couldn't find any. So I thought, okay, this is crazy. So I actually had clients that I was meeting with. Of course, we were doing the distancing thing, but they would say, pop your trunk. I pop my trunk. They would drop toilet paper in because I made a post. It's just like, seriously, where do you get toilet paper here? And so they said, pop your trunk. We got toilet paper. So my clients were actually feeding me the toilet paper, which was quite interesting. But it became scary. It was almost like a surreal thing. And then you see the people that were hoarding. There was a lot of hoarders.
Yeah.
And then, but the mask thing. So my mom, had cancer. And so she has no immune system. So luckily, all during my time at the hospital, I didn't realize I had become a hoarder of masks because every time I went in, I had to constantly have a mask. And because I was a caregiver, I just kept masks with me. Everywhere I went, I had a mask with me. Well, I pulled out the box and I'm like, woohoo, I have masks. So I'm now just completed using all of them, but now the stores are stocked with them. So I just a bunch for my entire team. They now have them. We have them in every car, every vehicle at the warehouse. My husband has them. So they're everywhere now. So we're stocked with masks. But it was a little scary. I thought, man, if I run out of this, that means I'm not going to see anybody. So I'm not going to go without the mask. So
yeah. Have either one of you experienced any negative feelings from clients that asked you to come stage when you were under stricter orders, where you had said that you weren't available? And was there any pushback? And how did you handle that? Ryan, I think you might have an instance of this, did you not?
Yeah, I mean, it's particular to our Seattle location. We did have an instance where they immediately, when the sit-in-place order was mandated, somebody reached out and they wanted to verify that we were going to continue to do the work as we had initially agreed. And so, I mean, obviously the circumstances change, right? And we asked for all of our clients to be as lenient as possible. And, that's really a red flag. It's really a judgment on character as well to ask us to do that through that process and to just disregard orders. So for us, it's a very clear line that maybe that wasn't an ideal client for us. And that's kind of the direction we headed. It was either they were going to work with us and as we can be as accommodating as possible, given the guidelines that were set forth. Otherwise, we were going to cut those ties. So ultimately, it went the other direction. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Was that an existing client, may I ask?
It was. And so obviously, we've all got clients that are pretty aggressive, pretty gregarious. It was just one of those client types. So through any sort of circumstance, they were ready to list, ready to go live. And my sales manager up in Seattle, actually, he made not really a joke, but a comment. He said people are stepping over dead bodies to stage these houses up here. So it was quite an interesting dichotomy altogether. So for the most part, we haven't received a whole lot of backlash. We've had a lot of support from our clients and just understanding that timelines are going to be longer, things are going to be stricter. They're not going to get as much face time from us, which is, I think the biggest thing there is making sure that you communicate those expectations with your clients. And we sent out a huge email to all of our clients, just letting them know, bear with us. This is going to be a challenge. And so these are unprecedented times. We are going to work through this together. So yeah, I think in many cases we developed some really strong client relationships through it as well. So it's been beneficial from that capacity.
just to go over some resources. If you go to the RESA website, on the homepage of the RESA website, Felicia has done an amazing job of pointing out exactly where you need to go for COVID updates. So there's things, especially if you have employees, we put up the OSHA guidelines. I believe she has OSHA up. And you really want to be careful about what it is that you're doing to be able to protect your employees. So if you have employees, check that out. Another great resource is the SCORE website. I actually just visited that website today. SCORE, obviously, they have a great amount of it's a mentorship program. So they're all volunteers of entrepreneurs or retired entrepreneurs that want to kind of give back and give you feedback on different things. You can check them out. FedEx has a grant program that you can access through the SCORE website as well. There's another grant on that website as well. It's right above the FedEx, and I apologize. It's been 25 minutes. I can't remember the name of that one, but I think it might have something to do with Dun & Bradstreet. But check that out as well. So there's just a few resources that everybody can tap into. Hopefully, if you applied for an EIDL or the PPE program, that everybody's received those. I know that those are helping a lot of the small businesses, and I think that stimulus checks have all gone out, or are still maybe going, trickling out to people. If they didn't file taxes, it takes a little bit longer to catch up. So hopefully there's been some sort of relief along the line for stagers in general. If you live in a state and your state association of realtors sends out information and they comment anything regarding staging, they don't have jurisdiction over stagers. So don't confuse the information that they're saying that you can or cannot do something. What they're doing is letting their agents know, what their preferences are. So of what they want, whether they want to allow stagers to come in, photographers, whatever it might be. So it's just a little bit of an important distinguishing factor when you look at those types of orders. We try to give you the best and the most updated information. So check the website back often, but also check your state governor's order. So if you go to your state governor website, the orders will always be on there, and you can look at the last orders to be able to update yourself to see what staging looks like in your area, or the rules are in your area, and also turn on your local news as well. So for people going back to work as things are starting to open up, what do you think is the top one or two tips that you can give people of things they need to really be aware of as they're starting to open up their doors? Ryan?
The first thing I would say is gauge the comfort level of your team members. Some people might have a history, might have pre-existing conditions, so it's important to have those conversations. They don't have to divulge if they do or don't, but just make them feel confident that they're in charge of that decision as to whether or not they're comfortable coming back. I think that's just a really important conversation to have with everybody, because this is uncharted water. Basically, we're all walking through this together and trying to make the most of it. The second thing I would probably say is in regards to the PPP loans is make sure you're following the guidelines for forgiveness. It can absolutely benefit you, but at the same time it could be a major hindrance in the end if you have not followed those guidelines to make those forgivable. So I think that's incredibly important.
Yeah, absolutely. Kristine, anything to add to that?
I agree with all the things that Ryan said. And then also I would have a conversation that create a questionnaire that you're comfortable with to have with your clients, so that before you even go out on the job, you can reassure your own staff that this is the procedures that they're handling. This is what they've been doing. This is who's been in the home. This is who hasn't been in the home. They've already sterilized the property before we go in. So just having that clear communication all across the board.
Yeah.
And then yesterday we did a staging, and I had masks at the door because the homeowners wanted to come see the property. They stayed away the whole time. They don't live in the property. It's vacant. They wanted to see it, and they were leaving for Illinois today, and we're not going to come back. So they put the mask on and came in, just stayed in the entry. We vacated. They came in and walked, and they came back out. And then, so we really didn't have a lot of interaction with them. So I think that it just made them more comfortable knowing that they knew exactly what was going on prior to even getting there with my communication with the other people on the other end. And I think more comfortable.
Yeah, I think that's critical. So RESA, we did release a staging addendum regarding COVID-19. So we had the legal team take a peek at that. drew that all up for everybody. I know CSP has also released something as well, and I'm sure that ours is in more of the members only resource area. So if you log into the website and go to that page, it should be there. Felicia will correct me in the chat box if I am not correct regarding that. But I think it is very important that stagers, that you put your expectations out there, and it is perfectly okay to require certain things with your business so you can protect yourself and your team members. For example, here in North Carolina, if you want to go get your hair done, when you go and you make your appointment now, they rattle off about 5 minutes worth of stuff. Requirements. You can't come into the building. You have to wait outside. Call us to let us know you're here. We'll send you a text message when we're ready. You will come in at this particular time. You must wear a mask. If you don't have one, we will provide one to you. And we're not going to blow dry your hair. And because blow drying, I guess, will spread the germs around. So there's very strict guidelines that they've put in for people. So stagers, you need to think with yourself as well. What is it that you're requiring of clients? If you're doing a consultation, if somebody does do an occupied right now, I know I'd be very hesitant to go that route at this point. Vacants, I agree with Ryan and Kristine that the risk is fairly low. And you obviously want to take all the precautions that you can, but check out the staging addendum to legally protect you as well. And you can develop your checklist from that as well to develop your other policies for when you are going to stage with somebody. So Bonnie's asking a question that she lost her corporate job. She's brand new to the industry. Welcome and go girl, perfect time to get in. What suggestions do you have to get your name out there? And I know we could talk about this for the next 17 hours, but I'm going to give you a couple answers and y'all can chime in if I don't cover everything. Bonnie, network. Work on everything that you can do right now while you have some downtime. Your website, your policies, your procedures, your contracts, networking, get your education if you don't have it, get more education if you need it, get your foundation solid and strong. So that way, when you are ready to go full force, that you can do that. Once we get back into being able to network, I strongly encourage you to get involved with the RESA chapter, get involved with your local association of realtors and your women's council of realtors if you have one in your area. The smartest things that you can do is to get out and to network. And when I say network, I don't mean shove yourself down people's throats. Just get out and meet people. If you want business from real estate agents, you need to party where they party. So figure out where they're going, get to their marketing meetings every single month, go or weekly, depending on your area, get on the caravan tours. You can meet people that way. Just tons of things that you can do. Ryan, what else would you suggest?
I would suggest working on the brand immediately. It's really establish what you are going to provide your clients, have it well defined, and really know your business model before you start to get out there, like Shell said, and network in general. So if you have that clear definition, you know what you're selling, you've validated the market frustration in your area as far as the service you're going to provide, you can be very successful really quickly just by networking and having a very strong brand that is very clear and easy for clients to understand.
Absolutely.
And I've spent a lot of this time also just revamping and resetting up my business structure. I've been working on operations manual, putting new systems into place and streamlining the processes, and actually added people to the process, gotten virtual assistants. And so, but now I'm going backwards and recreating some of the things because I just dove in and then I have to build. So if she takes the time now to really structure herself and prepare for long term, so she doesn't have to keep redoing it every couple months, that this would be a really good time for her to really set herself up for longevity and sustainability, as well as getting out there, joining the Facebook groups of the realtors in her area, because they are doing networking on social media. And so I'm joining them, having conversations with them. They're doing roundtables, they're doing masterminds, all online. And so I'm doing all these Zoom meetings with everybody. So that's a good way, to participate now before you get out there, and also test her branding. This is a good time to test her branding, and maybe test her branding in those groups. Say, hey, this is my branding, this is what I'm thinking. What do you guys think? At the input of the realtors, and then she's at top of mind for them when they are all ready to jump and go.
So how are y'all handling sanitizing furniture? So I know there's been with the CDC some changing messaging. I'm not going to say mixed. It just changes because they don't know what they don't know when they start and they think one thing and then it evolves and it ends up being something different. So in the beginning it was, it could live on surfaces for 9 days. Then it got lower. Then it's like, maybe not so much. In my opinion, why risk it? Let's just either put that inventory out of commish for a couple days or use some sanitizers. So what are you doing, Ryan?
Yeah, so I mean, it's one of those things where you kind of think through and really you're trying to tackle the challenge of how do I clean every single piece, but really looking at that timeline and how long something might be able to live on the furniture is probably the most important component, because naturally, once a house goes pending, there's so many other steps in that process. So if you know the timeline, you know who's been in there, maybe Radon was the last team in there and it's been 10 days since anybody before them, and you can verify that they're healthy or they haven't been exposed in any way, shape, or form, then we're pretty confident that our furniture is pretty sterile. But in the event something's a quick turnaround, obviously things need to be cleaned, but really being cognizant of that timeline. If there's any way to leave the furniture a little bit longer, to be outside, 5-7 day window. Like you said, the CDC is constantly changing their guidelines as far as how long it can last on different surfaces. But just, creating that window of time for it to just sit and, for the virus to obviously just, I guess, leave in general.
Yeah, for sure.
That's kind of been what we've relied on through this process primarily.
I think it's also important to take care of your clients. So when you are in a staged listing, let's say you're destaging, disinfect from the furthest room in the house and work your way forward until you leave, just wiping down all the surfaces that you can with a disinfectant rag, any touch points, light switches,
Absolutely.
Doorknobs.
Yeah, good practice. Open all the doors when you get there, so people are constantly touching, and especially just know who opened the doors and wipe down knobs, because you're not the last person in that house. People are going to start touring, so we want to make sure we're taking care of our clients, because if that becomes kind of ground zero for some sort of spread, it can really throw a loop for the agent, for the homeowners through that entire process. So, so far, we haven't had, cross our fingers, any issues whatsoever.
Awesome. So Emily's asking, where do you find out about real estate marketing meetings and caravans? So Emily, that would be with your local association of realtors. If you reach out to them in member services, ask them, do they hold a weekly marketing meeting? Where is it located? How do you get in? Join as an affiliate. How is people dealing with kids in school? Neither one of you have small kids at home, right?
No, I'm a grandma.
Ditto.
Yeah, no, I don't have. I've got 2 dogs, but not quite kids.
Yeah, so let's open that up. Questions in the chat box. If does anybody experiencing anything special with regard to the kids, how are you dealing with that? I know from people, I have discovered the most fantastic piece of an app, a piece of technology that I've ever discovered in my life. It's called TikTok. I'm obsessed with it. Obsessed with it. First of all, there's so many positive things going on there, but the families, I really enjoy watching the families, and I'm seeing a lot of people hanging out with their kids, and the teenage kids are just terrorizing their parents. It's fantastic. You've got to check it out because they go to parents and they tell the jokes, little tension relieving activities. But I can tell from the tone of some of the TikTok, because if you use the hashtag TikTok moms, people are struggling. They are struggling. A lot of moms are struggling because they've had to homeschool their children, in addition to having to do all of the other duties. Now everybody's at home and they're struggling with that. And it's one of those things you really feel for a lot of people. I could never be a teacher of small children or even large children. I would scare them. It would not go well. So I appreciate all the teachers out there in the world. And I think that anybody now that's homeschooling their children will have a much bigger appreciation for the teaching workforce out there. So Paula's asking, how does she need to figure out how much she really needs to include in the contract, which is already a bit long? Paula, I would 100% look at your contract, and everybody, I would be adding information about this crisis. This is one of those things with a contract. It's a living and breathing document. It's not a one and done. However, if you have paid an attorney to write it, get your attorney to write the clause with you, because once you change the agreement with an attorney, they can't defend it on later on if you've made adjustments to it without their knowledge. So seek them out. Also, the RESA Sure program through Villanova Insurance. They have it's like a concierge program for our members where they will review your contract. And Joe Denler is the one who's actually the one who did our staging addendum. So look for the RESA Sure program through Villanova Insurance. Get your contracts renewed, updated, have this situation added into it if you don't have a way to do it on your own. Strongly suggest it.
So I just switched. While we've been doing all this, I've been revamping and going through all my contracts and all my, everything. So I had them recheck all my insurance and everything, and they were able to get me a better carrier, and with adding RESA Sure to my insurance, and it brought me down $400 a year. And I increased my inventory amount.
Oh, can we just talk about that for a moment? So before I left California, we have fires all the time in California, but we had a really big wildfire in California. And I actually know a stager, a member, who did not update their policy to cover their inventory. So they started out, and so everybody, when they start out, I'm just going to get the little bitty policy here. And then your next year comes around and the insurance company sends you a questionnaire. Well, they're asking you the questionnaire. People always say, well, I'm not going to answer the questionnaire. They just want to raise my rates. Well, your rate might go up a little bit, but they're raising your coverage so you're protected. And when you don't update that, you will end up with a large amount of inventory with an insurance policy that covers this much of it, and you could have some sort of disaster and have it wiped out, and then you're not covered. So checking with your insurance policy, your contracts, all that. This is just a good time to do just a serious autopsy on everybody's businesses. Definitely. Now, somebody asked about e-staging. So let's cover what we think e-staging is. So one, I think we might be referring to remote consultations, which a lot of people are doing. And then other people are doing e-staging, e-design, where they're actually doing the rendering, the artist rendering of how it was that you would change the scope of the room, and then you're giving that to your particular client, and then they can DIY it. So are either of you doing remote consultations at your locations?
I've been doing it for years, so it was an easy thing for me just to continue that on. And then for those that use me, face to face, I sent them a message. I said, by the way, I've been doing this for a long time for my other clients. If you wish to continue, we can do it this way. And many of them took me up on that. So I was doing about 10 a month during COVID, and it kind of kept me afloat.
That's awesome. I think everybody should keep it in their tools. Don't get rid of it once COVID goes away. It's another service level. So you can do in-person consultations. You can do the remote consultations. Keep them on there. Keep them going. Ryan, what about your teams? How many locations do you have now? 3, 4?
We've got 4 up and down the coast. So we've changed our process through forced innovation, of course. All of our consultations are predominantly done back at the office first. And then once we've gone through looking at photos, bidding on a project, then at that point, if the clients are serious, then we'll go out and look at the property on our own with a lockbox in general. But it's actually saved a lot of time. It's something that we're going to continue to do even when the new normal arrives, because we're way more actionable. We can get proposals over substantially quicker than we could in the past. So, and we can push them out pretty quickly. And it's kind of a pre-qualification type process just in general. But yeah, for the most part, that's completely changed. We don't offer any sort of virtual redesign in general, because we tend to stick to our core competencies, which is vacant staging predominantly. So in that regard, there hasn't been any changes there.
Awesome. I love it. So Donna Henderson's asking, any newer creative ideas for occupied staging services when the time is right, coming out of the pandemic? I think that's going to go on. I don't think anything's going to change much with that other than your safety protocols.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really hands-on service. You have to go in and declutter, potentially look at bringing in your own items. So it's very much one of those processes that can't change in that regard too much. I suppose you could look at photos. You could decide what needs to go away before even visiting the property based on photos, but it might be pretty challenging. I think you'd have to have a really great eye.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. So tips for directing clients to take the photos. So what everybody that I've talked to when you're looking at doing the remote consultation is they're doing them one of two ways, either or a combination. So they're taking the photos or they're doing actually a live walkthrough video. So they'll get their iPad or their phone and the client walks through. Zoom is big, Zoom staging, right. Or FaceTime or whatever it might be. So with the photos, what you have them do is you just simply have them take a photograph from the corner of every single room. And that way you can see it from all angles. You'll also be able to see how rooms connect to each other, and they can send you the photos in advance. Being able to do that, make sure all the lights are on, and tell them, if you take the photo and the photo is really dark, take another one. So make sure that they're doing a little bit of editing on those particular photos. They don't have to literally go in and Photoshop it, but make sure the lighting is correct so you can see everything it is that's going on. Those would be my recommendation. Windows open, yeah.
You really have to stress the importance of the quality of the photos initially, because it will affect the outcome. So just letting them know that you can take some pretty bad photos, but it may affect the outcome, or it may, just throw off the design altogether. So we tend to recommend from each corner of the room so we can really see what's going on. And then in some cases, we'll ask for a panoramic. But another thing is always ask for more. We can always ask for more if we need it.
Yep, for sure. So let's go take a peek at this poll. Wearing masks. Are you wearing masks when you're out and about? 94% of the people that answered said yes. 5% said no. I will tell you, I am on the fence with this. It's like I want to do it. I really want to do the right thing and do it. But then I think, if I'm just going to the store and I'm already 6 feet away from people and I'm not talking to anybody or anything along like that. So if I hold my breath every time I walk past somebody. I don't know why. It's like something natural. You really want to do it, but I have not been as good as it as my husband is. And the other thing is because we couldn't find masks, we had this like a buff, like from Survivor type thing. And with my hair, it won't stay on no matter what I do. I put the hair up, it won't stay on. You put it down, it won't stay on anyway. My husband stays on. So now he actually just got masks, so I probably will start picking those up as well. Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it is a challenge for sure. I took a different vehicle today, and I realized I didn't have masks, and I had to meet with one of our attorneys, and I apologized, of course, because typically I have a mask, especially if I'm going to meet with somebody. I'll wear it. So, yeah, adding it as part of the routine, it's definitely a change. It's a change for sure.
Yeah. So I just threw up another poll just asking, have you done a remote consultation due to COVID? So let's check that out and get some people answering that poll off to the side. So we've got Staging Studio has information on how to stage your Zoom call. Stage your Zoom call for staging. So if you're doing a remote consultation and you're using Zoom, this blog is going to tell you how to fix your background in the back, because I guess Zoom has a green screen option. Mm-hmm. So that is really good. Anytime you can get a step-by-step tutorial on something like that, it's really cool. So check that one out.
Yeah, there is limitations depending on the age of your computer. It might force you to do a green screen, which doesn't turn out as well as a background because it kind of like washes into your face. But it is a cool functionality.
Yeah. And I think also with that, you can upload your own photo as a background.
Yep.
As well.
Yeah, basically anything you want back there.
So Grace Ann's from Illinois, and she just did a remote consult with using photos and did a color consult remotely, offering 6 days.
Not bad.
Wow. That's
Very
awesome.
good. I'm actually really shocked, and tell me if y'all feel the same. I'm actually shocked that houses have continued to sell. Every time I hear it, we hear somebody, it's like, and they're selling quickly. So I'm sure there's less inventory on the shelves, which is going to put that demand up. But can I just say, what a great time to be in real estate as we're going to come out of this, because it is going to boom, in my opinion. I think stagers are going to be very busy. I think y'all better get ready because it's coming. Once it starts opening up, people have been putting their plans on hold until this lifts. And once it lifts, it's going to be on.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a huge fan of economics in general. And so looking at the behavior of buyers and sellers has been a lot of fun for me. One of the things I was worried about initially is that equity would start to go away, and then people would not want to sell and upgrade. And I think that would have been super detrimental to the market in general. But I think homes have appreciated through this. And one thing that we don't realize is a lot of people have had more time to themselves in order to do home improvements, in order to prepare for the market, in order to sell. And so maybe they wouldn't have had the opportunity to sell and buy a new property just in general because of a time constraint. So time in many cases is one of those valuable resources that we always forget about.
On the poll, have you done a remote consult due to COVID? 41% said yes, 58% said no.
Oh, wow. Okay.
That was interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, I posted last night. So in the last, I guess, 3 weeks or about 3 weeks, we've staged between occupied redesigns virtually, and then some that were vacant, and then our big vacant luxury homes. We've staged 10 of them. Every single one of them have sold either 1 day to 3 days. And they're all, most of them in the millions. The price point is 1 point something. And that I was not anticipating. I was anticipating them at least being a 30, 45 day out. And most of them were selling just Facebook time with the realtor.
Now, I saw a question in the chat earlier about offering discounts because of COVID. If you don't mind, I'll address that one.
For sure.
I was going to say, and I meant to mention earlier, but statistics. If you know the time on market has not changed as a result of COVID, there's no reason to discount your services. Absolutely not. Obviously, there's going to be less demand, so maybe you have to offer some discounts to make, to bring in projects. But always rely on your statistics, and we're the ones educating our clients about the market conditions in many cases. So if we have solid statistics, we can overcome that obstacle.
Yeah. Now, I think there's a differentiator between just offering a flat discount versus when a client calls and says, listen, we haven't been able to show it for 2 weeks because of COVID. What can you do for me? I saw this question on Facebook, and my answer was, if you can pay it forward, man, pay it forward. Sometimes you don't want to have to deal with that inventory coming back right this second and put your team at risk from going up. And if they cancel the contract, it gives a little bit of goodwill. If you're not out of pocket, why not do it? Kind of makes sense.
Yeah. And I think every circumstance is different.
Sure.
So it's good to know the full story. Initially, when the sit in place orders went into effect, we froze all of our extended rental. So as long as people were not able to enter the house to view the house and potentially purchase it, we were not charging our clients. And it was different by state, by area, but it's all since been lifted and the market is running really hot. But absolutely pay it forward. That's our part in economic easing, just in general, to help our clients out a bit if we can make that happen.
Yep. So let's talk economics, Ryan, your favorite subject. So I just posted a new poll. Have you lost business to a stager who is willing to stage when staging was not essential? This was really happening in the first couple weeks. And from a macroeconomics perspective, Ryan, here's the floor. What does that do for our industry when that dynamic happens?
So right now, and we kind of talked about this a month or so back, in sticking to the stay-at-home orders, we're able to create some sort of demand, pent-up demand in the industry. But when we have stagers that are willing to work through, and even though they're non-essential, they're potentially eliminating that demand, which is just undercutting the market. So it can have a really devastating effect in the long run. Obviously, short term, it may offer some sort of economic benefit, but ultimately, what we want to come back to when the sit in place is over, when we can go back to business pretty close to as usual, is pent up demand, because what it does is it drives the value and the cost of our staging upward, as opposed to coming back and having to discount further underneath the competitors. So we want to be in this position. We don't want to be picking up the scraps down here. And so it takes a lot of courage to really stick to the mandates and whatnot, and not undercut the market. So I would encourage anybody that's considering offering major discounts to get back into the game, to just kind of reevaluate. There's no reason to discount your services.
No reason. And in fact, it's a proven technique also. When you have any sort of a recession or any type of economic setback, those people that are staying in it, that's when you raise your prices, that you can look
Right.
at a price increase at that particular point. And I know everybody I tell that to, it's looking at me like I'm a lunatic, but it works.
No, I wholeheartedly agree with you, Shell. And the reason that it makes sense is we are incurring additional costs. So,
Right.
if we have excellent clients and we're able to have that conversation and say, hey, it's a bit more expensive for us to operate, they should have some sort of understanding. And for us, and we do 1,000 plus houses a year out of our 4 locations, we're able to have those conversations with many of our clients, and there is some understanding, and they want to partner with us as well. So, I would avoid the tactic of trying to scrape up a ton of work very quickly, because it would potentially hurt the market on a macro level.
What EDesign software does anybody recommend if you're using some sort of EDesign? I know, actually, I don't know if I want to quote this. I know a lot of people just actually use PowerPoint, just put the photos in and just make the comments in an actual PowerPoint. But if you're looking for like some sort of a photo editing software, I'm unsure of one. Do either one of you know?
I don't use that. I just use
The PowerPoint.
I use the PowerPoint, and I do 2 things. I ask them to send me photos of every corner of the room, like Ryan was suggesting, and then I will analyze them. I'll make my hit list of what I want to have done, and then I will also, at the time I'm doing it, have them video me in, so that we're walking through and I'm talking them through all my notes. And sometimes things change, and then sometimes you'll see that when they did do the 4 corners, that they kind of left the one corner out that had all the stuff they were embarrassed about. So we have that conversation. But I require the photos, and I also require the panoramic. I want a panoramic of each room plus the 4 corners, and then the video. But I make it look like a Pinterest board, and just make like a really nice design, like I'm doing a design board. And then I snapshot it and make a photo of it. So I'm sending that over to them, plus showing them the PowerPoint. And then I also give them shopping ideas where they can get everything with links to purchase the items if they wanted, or I can provide it and send it to them, drop it off, or I can install it. So there's lots of different ways to do it, but right now I'm looking to do that later or something different, but it works so well for me right now. And my clients, if they can't open up the PowerPoint, I save it as a PDF.
Yeah. It's real simple. It's most something that everybody has as well. But if you are looking for an option that is more of a technology related option, edesignfiles.com.
Right.
edesignfiles.com. Let's talk about some things to be on the lookout for. COVID-19, how has it affected our industry? RESA in particular, obviously RESACon. RESACon in person, no bueno. RESACon virtual, that's the way we're going. So we are actually just getting ready to put the marketing out there. But it's going to be the same speakers. They're just only 2 speakers weren't able to do the virtual event, and we'll find replacements for them as well. And we're also going to have a panel of experts regarding COVID-19 and how to get back to work as well. So check out resaconvention.com, or if you go to the RESA website, realestateStagingAssociation.com, click on the events button from the menu, and you can go and you can sign up for that. Lots of great resources. We're going to do our best to bring a fantastic virtual event to everybody in July still. And then also we will do the Home Staging Industry Awards. And now they're correcting me, designfiles.co instead of .com. So designfiles.co is the correct URL for that. Ryan, you're speaking.
Mm-hmm.
What is your topic?
So I'm going to go over, it's called a killer sales strategy or killer sales process just in general. So I would be talking about some of the strategies that we've used in order to gain new clients, in order to retain clients, and then ultimately what that overall process looks like from start to finish. And I think this is probably a great topic, especially for mid-level, because you've gone through the process, you've likely organically developed your own sales process, but it's so important to be cognizant of what those processes are in general, and to see if there might be some holes in that process. So just things that we've done in the past in order to make sure that we have the best opportunity in order to win the bid, but also be able to provide our clients with the best staging in town.
Fantastic. Looking forward to it. Lots of topics that will be happening at RESACon. Check out the website. Kristine, any last final words as we wrap up in the last 5 minutes?
Yes, I got lots of calls during this time with, the stress level of some of the stagers in our area was pretty high. I think that the best thing that we can do for ourselves is to take this time and really focus on ourselves, set goals, set our priorities, take care of our health, really figure out where we want our business to be in the next 1, 2, 3, 5 years, and spend the time doing that, because when we get busy, we don't have time to do those things. And then I've been working on creating an entirely new morning ritual and evening ritual and in between, and setting my top 3 priorities for the day. Although I try to get a lot done during the day, I don't want to go to bed till those top 3 things are done. And so I've had a lot of coaching conversations with people, and it's kind of helped peel them off the ceiling by having those conversations. And so if we really get clear with our own personal intentions and our personal development, this is the time to go. I mean, even on RESA's site, you could go on there and spend a week just listening to all the webinars and the videos and just pinpointing the things. Even if you don't want to listen to them, because you're going to get something out of them, and you're going to realize that, oh, I need to be focusing on this. I didn't even realize I need to focus on that. And then take the time to not only listen to it, but implement it. And then don't start something new till you're done implementing it. And I think that if that's where they put their focus at, the stress level will come down. They'll feel much better coming out of this. They'll be in a better position, and they'll have more confidence.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. You got to fill your mind with things that are positive and things that you can control. So right now is just such a fantastic time to be able to get your education. And every training provider out there has something. Let me tell you, as leaders in our industry, I just want to give some kudos to all the leaders in the industry, including all the training providers, because everybody has really stepped up. And this is not about just people trying to profit off of anybody or anything like that. People have really come together, and the camaraderie and, the whole stage it forward concept, everybody is paying it forward. CSP, Lori Peterson's doing a one on a new virtual reality, RESA, it's a webinar. She's going to be doing that. Check them out over at CSP. Check out all of them, because everybody has something to offer that's been out there. So I've been really excited from a leadership perspective in the industry to see how we've all kind of come together, and everybody's doing a little bit of their part and being overall really, really supportive. I think there's been it's like you said, Kristine, about the focus. What you focus on, you get. So we could sit here and talk about a very small percentage of, stagers who were not doing things that were so ethical, but in reality, it's really about 99% of the people are doing all the right things, and it's a very small amount of people that are not doing that. So I just want to celebrate everybody in the street that's doing the right thing, and we certainly appreciate it. And I know everybody else does as well. That's about it for us. We've kind of gone through all the questions. You're welcome, Lori. Thank you, Dawn. We appreciate everybody taking the time to meet with us. And Kristine and Ryan, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to spend with the entire industry and give from yourselves. We certainly appreciate it. Again, check the RESA website often. Reach out to somebody in leadership. Reach out to your client. Check in on them. Don't try to sell them anything. Just touch base. See how people are going. Do the human thing, and that'll come back tenfold. Until next time, stay healthy. Bye, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.